It wasn't a simple return of colors, but the beginning of a new era. When people in distant villages awoke, they rubbed their eyes in disbelief. The colors they thought had been forgotten had returned as if they had never left, yet they felt deeper, more alive, as if they had learned something during their absence. The blues were calmer, the greens wiser, and the yellows quieter, warmer, more comforting. The elders gathered, not to seek an explanation for what had happened, but to learn how to protect what they had almost lost. They realized finally that colors were never guaranteed, and that beauty is not permanent. It is a trust that requires awareness. People began telling the story to their children, not as a tale of an evil wizard, but as a gentle warning about fear left unhealed. As for the wizard, he was no longer called a wizard. He left the Black Mountains behind and could no longer live in places without light. He walked long distances without a wand or spells, as if learning to walk again. He did not seek forgiveness, but understanding. He looked at flowers as a child might, seeing something whose value is only understood when it is almost lost. Along his journey, he passed through villages he had never known. At first, he did not dare approach, but he noticed that people did not flee from him. They looked, then returned to their work. It was not complete forgiveness, but it was a beginning. He understood that mending what was broken could not be done with words, but with patience. The girl had become part of the memory of the place. She did not consider herself a heroine, and she did not understand why people spoke of her. All she knew was that she had said what she felt. She continued living with her grandmother, painting, listening to stories, and adding new colors. Children would gather around her, not just to learn to draw, but to learn to listen to what was unsaid. She would tell them that color is not only what we see, but what we feel when we look. And though the world might lose its form at times, it would not lose its meaning if we remembered to dream. She did not use grand words, just simple sentences, yet they left a profound mark. Over time, the story took on a deeper meaning than anyone had expected at first. It was no longer just a tale of a wizard who stole colors and then lost his power, but a mirror in which every person could see themselves facing fear or fleeing from it. Parents told it to their children at night, not to frighten them, but to remind them that what we love requires care, and what we neglect can wither without notice. The woman sat by the window each evening, watching the sky's layers of colors and smiling. She never said she was proud of the little girl, yet in her heart, she knew that the words she had planted years ago had found their way. She would tell herself quietly that wisdom does not need a loud voice, only time. The girl herself had changed, not only in appearance but in how she viewed the world. She no longer saw things as they were, but as they could be. She sensed that every place held hidden colors, even the silent rocks, even the shadows. Sometimes she would stop painting for days, not because she had lost desire, but because she was listening. She believed that colors cannot be forced. They must be invited. The man once known as the wizard had learned when to pause and when to begin again. He no longer feared failure, for failure was no longer absolute darkness, but a faded shade that could be restored with patience. He would tell anyone who approached that the hardest magic he had learned was letting things grow on their own. As the days passed, time itself seemed less urgent. People no longer measured their lives by how much they accomplished, but by how deeply they felt. They learned that color does not like haste, and that joy, when demanded, hides. But when invited gently, it comes on its own. In this way, the rhythm of the world changed, not because of a law imposed, but because hearts chose to slow down. The woman could see hidden colors in faces. She never named them, but she felt them. A face might hold the blue of long patience, another the yellow warmth that never fades, and some faces bore the ash of weariness, yet retained the power to shine. She understood that every person has an inner canvas, and the greatest thing one can do is not tear it apart with harsh judgment. During harvest seasons, people shared food, not because they were wealthy, but because sharing had become a habit. They noticed that a communal table carried more colors, even if the meal was simple. They laughed more, not because life had become easier, but because they no longer fought it alone. And as they learned this, the colors grew stronger, as if they had finally found safe ground. Children grew up knowing that questions were more important than ready answers. They asked, why does color fade sometimes, and why does it return? No one gave a single explanation. They were left to discover on their own, for discovery is part of the guardianship. And as the questions grew within them, so too did their care. On a clear night, with the moon reflecting light on everything, the villagers gathered. They did not speak much, nor celebrate loudly, but they felt peace. They finally understood that the story had not ended, because it never truly ends, and that every moment, when truth and joy are chosen, is a continuation of the tale. And so, the colors remained alive, not because of magic or spells, but because of the hearts that chose to see, nurture, and protect them. Everyone who hears this story understands that they are part of it, and that they can always return color to the world through a simple act, a genuine smile, or a kind word. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another magical tale, keeping you close to a world full of color and wonder.